I've spent about an hour with flap discs 120 grit on this, and I've been using the beeswax to lubricate it, and you can see I've got it pretty smooth this end. This is the annealed end. See, there's no rough bits at all now. Alright, so the plan is to cut it down here in half, then cut it that way. So I've got an upper half and a lower half of my nose cone there. The diameter from there to there is about 1 or 2 centimeters less than the diameter here to here. So, but you can see at the moment these edges are parallel. That piece is flat, whereas I need to flare them out. So once I've flared them out with a lot of care in the English wheel, I'm hoping, once I've blended all these curves in, and that's come out to sort of like that, so it'll be a little bit wider. So I'm going to cut it down here. Right, there's the nose cone, and there's the spare nose cone. So I'm going to take this woodwork off. I'm going to clamp these edges down to here. Disconnect this so it's out of the way for now. I'll just try and get it to fit exactly here, ready to be welded. Right, I'm using a bit of welding wire and tape to try and get the curve right, so I can make a template which I can put over this, and then I can keep working it until it's the correct shape. That looks pretty good to me, so I'm actually going to copy that in cardboard. So this this wood, you see, exactly fits the outside edge of the wire. So basically I've got to wheel this and hammer it until that fits over there like that, which looks like. So the first thing to see is I need to trim some more of this off, because this is there, so I need to leave a little bit extra, maybe cut around here. Right, I've taken the plunge, I've cut it in half, and I've welded it on. See, as my welding goes, it's not bad. The panels are perfectly lined up. The only glitch is here where it dips in, so I'm going to have to hammer that out once I've smoothed it. Ideally you want the edges to butt up perfectly so there's no gap between them all the way round. In reality that's pretty hard to do. I mean, if you can get it to about 1 millimeter or less, you're doing okay. So what I did, I wasn't planning on using these, but I actually used these things. What are they called? Butt welding clamps. And basically you put this thin slice of metal through the gap, put that through on the underside, and then tighten up that screw, and it pulls the edges together. And the good thing about them is that you can then do a nice butt weld because they're facing each other, there's no step. And what I did was I got these edges so they were practically touching all the way around, but where there was a gap of like 1 millimeter, that's where I put my clamp through, and it was in a few places, so I managed to work my way around. At the end I just clamped them together to get them lined up, so it's reasonably okay. So now I need to grind these down and then use a hammer and dolly. Right, there's a big jump here, so you can see I've got the nose on. It's trimmed along here so that when I weld on the angle piece all the way around here, it'll line up exactly then with the lower edge of this metal rail, and then the one coming up from underneath will line up with these tabs, so they should meet. Still needs a bit of metal finishing, but you can see got this reasonably smooth here. Nightmare basically of panel beating and welding and kind of grinding, and you can see, but I'm getting there slowly. So eventually I'm going to flip the whole car over and make the underside. So, but I've done the basics. I've used this side of the model of the wooden buck to make another one of these panels, which again has been trimmed and will fit. This is the other half of the nose section. Of course this will be underneath, so it doesn't actually have to be as beautiful and perfect as that one. So you can see, for one thing, there's a welded seam in it and it needs a bit more finishing, but you can see how roughly it will fit there. As he drops it on the floor, I already made another one of these sections to go under there. So what remains then is, bearing in mind it's going to have a trimmed flat bottom, so I don't need to copy all of that. I need to copy about half of it. I need to make a panel from about like that size, using this side of the buck, which will be used underneath. Same for the other side, and of course I need to make the one that's going to go here. And then a kind of, again, another one more simplified, which will go under there because it'll curve around and then just be flat underneath. So I'm basically making up the underside panels roughly to shape, and then I'll flip the car over, finish those off and fix them on permanently. Of course these panels will all come off. In terms of equipment, this is very useful. It's called a spoon, or a slapper or slapping spoon. Some of them come with a filed texture. This one is smooth. It's good for using like as a hammer, but it doesn't leave any edges or hammer marks. I bought a cheap hammer set and found, you get what you pay for. So I've got a flat-faced bodywork hammer. Can't remember what these are called. I mean, it's a dolly, but they all have different names. But you see, this is one's like a bar of soap, flat on one side. That's useful. Also got one of these. Goodness knows how old this is. This is used from eBay, but you can see, despite the look of it, it's very smooth. It's been looked up. I've also got a shot bag, a small one. There's only one company in the UK make these, as far as I can see, Frost's. The shot is put in through this Velcro opening, which as soon as you hit it, the shot comes out. So I had to like get that sewn shut with thick cord, and now it's fine. So they're the tools I'm using at the moment. For fast forwarding now a few days of work. So I had this tail section made before, and this is going to go on the underside, but I'm making it now before I flip the whole car over. So this time I've not used the rivets, I've welded it. It still needs dressing and hammering out. You can see where the welds are, it puckers in slightly, so that needs hammering out and then grinding down. This section here, I've just tacked it mainly, because when this is on the bottom of the car, remember, the bottom of it's going to be flattened off towards the front, and it starts about here and it will come around here. This will all be cut out and a flat piece welded in, which will run all the way up to around here. I've also made another top panel ready to go on the underside, because eventually this car is going to be completely flipped over. And I'll do the underside first and then I'll put the top on. There's some more welding to do underneath as well. So the next step would be, I've marked out where this rail comes, because the aluminium goes over it, so that needs trimming along these lines. And then I need to weld the L channel all the way around the edge, which will be tricky near the front here. So basically that's done now. So that's the underside. I've got an equivalent to this that matches it again for the underside. So I either work on the underside now, or I make one of these side panels. I may do those last actually. So it's probably coming up to the time where I flip the whole car over and as I say, fit this on the other side. What yeah, I'm just thinking one way. The interesting thing is how to mark this out. I could use one of those laser spirit levels, so I can get it at the right angle, and then where the laser comes, draw a line all the way around, and then I know the bottom will be symmetrical and flat. I'm going to have to think about that actually.